Unsyndicated presents What the Puck with Sean Baligian.
So glad you could join us for another edition of What the Puck, along with my partner, Mike Iavasile. My name is Sean Baligian. Let's get right to it. Can't thank the Michigan High School Hockey Coaches Association enough for making this possible. It's helping guys like Mike and I pass the time until the new season starts. Let's just be honest with that. And it is not that far away. Kindly joining us, he is the head coach of Ann Arbor Skyline, a guy that knows a little something about the high school hockey game for quite a long time. Let's welcome him in. He is Coach Matthew Meyer. Coach, really appreciate you taking the time. Thanks so much for joining us here.
Yeah, Sean, Mike, I'm happy to be here, chat about some high school hockey with you guys, and just, raise awareness about the game and the program.
Well, I say it all the time. I don't think people in this state know how good of a product it is and how much it's grown. I always say, forget about 20, 30 years ago. Really, in the last 10 years, you're a guy that has a unique view of that. Here last week, we had the head coach of Midland Hockey on, Steve Witt. You're a guy that's familiar with Midland Hockey. Tell everybody about that.
Yeah, so I actually went to Midland High School, class of 2010. Tried out all 4 years, failed a few times, but ultimately was able to get in there at the end of my high school career and be a part of that team. You think of Midland Chemic hockey and it's been around for so long. A couple of my cousins, played on the team in the mid to late 90s, and it's been such a staple as far as high school hockey goes in terms of one of those blue blood programs. And I'm honored to be from there for sure.
And once you left high school hockey, Coach, you went all over the place, from CMU to some internships at the OHL to NCD3. Tell us, where's your coaching pathway? Where did it start? Where has it taken you? And how did it lead you to Skyline High School?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a different story, I suppose. I got started, as you said, with CMU. And I remember that day vividly. It was one of my first weeks on campus. I transferred in from community college, and I was cutting through one of the dorms just to get some air conditioning. It was like 95 degrees outside. And I saw a bulletin for the CMU women's team that they were looking for a student manager. And at that point in my life, my plan, I wanted to be a high school teacher and coach high school hockey. That's what I thought I wanted to do. I was like, this looks great. I'll be around a team. I'll get to learn. This is awesome. Fast forward a few weeks to our first game. We played Robert Morris. I think we got our doors blown off like 15-4 or something. It was bad. And that was actually the first time I had met the head coach of the team, was at the game. We'd been practicing for weeks. He had been MIA. Shows up to the first game. We lose badly. He quits. So then the team's kind of up, what creek without a paddle. And I remember sitting in a diner around midnight with college club sports, the students are like the president, vice president, treasurer. It's made up of the students kind of. And they offered me the job, and I'm 21 years of age, probably had no business being the head coach of that team. But it was such a great experience. They welcomed me with open arms. Got to do that for a few years. You mentioned my internship with the 2024 Memorial Cup champion, Saginaw Spirit. That was a great learning experience. 2 years there. My first year there was actually Dave Drinkle's first year there. So I got to kind of come in at the beginning and see what he was about in the program he was building. My second year there, Spencer Carberry was the head coach, who's now the head coach of the Washington Capitals, as you guys know. Just a really great guy. Did a lot of video, did a lot of stat work, helping kind of keep track of player finances and stuff, just really figuring out how, a professional hockey organization works and runs day to day, which was great. And then got the opportunity in 2019 to move out to Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, coach the women's team at King's College, NCAA D3. I was actually assistant coach and director of hockey operations while I was there. Great learning experience, great group of young women, still friends and talk to and close to with a number of them. And then COVID happened, made hockey illegal for a period of time. And, I'm an only child. My parents are a bit older. I wanted to come back home and be close. Just all the confusion at the beginning. You didn't really know what was going on. So came back. I was fortunate enough to get linked up at SVSU, spent a year as the assistant coach there. and then got a job actually at the Arctic Coliseum, and I wasn't there super long before Coach Strip stepped down at Skyline. And I was like, well, I work here and this is a heck of a lot closer than Saginaw Valley. So threw my name in the hat, and they obviously liked what they heard, and I'm still here going into year 4 now.
I want to backtrack a little bit because I say this all the time. And I mentioned this to Coach Witt. I had the fortune, and I mean that, of working for Mr. Goslin and that great group up in Saginaw. And I'm not sure that people realize what a hockey hotbed it is up there, whether it be Saginaw or Midland, even down to Flint, that whole region, when you're talking about regions in this state, I'm not sure people give that region that you grew up playing and you grew up working in maybe the love that it deserves, Coach.
Yeah. I mean, the Great Lakes Bay region is really, a great spot to raise a family, and it's a great spot to be an athlete too, especially within hockey, like we're talking about here. Whether it's Midland or Bay City, Saginaw, or even all the way down to Flint, it really has been a bit of a hockey hotbed that I would say does get overlooked. You think about Metro Detroit, and you think about the West Side, and, even the Ann Arbor, Washtenaw County area. But, and every year, whether it's Midland High or it's Saginaw Heritage, it seems like there's always a team from that region in it late in our league. So I think it's a great spot for young hockey players. I think it needs to be scouted more heavily if you're a junior guy or a college guy, and some really good coaches up there as well.
Coach, with this great experience that you've had all over the place, different colleges, different programs, do you use that? Do you feel that helps you reach some of these kids that are trying to do the same thing by going off to college and playing at the next level?
100%. Yeah. I'm a big believer in lifelong learning. It doesn't matter where you're at or what you're doing. There's always something you can pick up on. And even in certain cases, it's maybe I shouldn't do this. You can always pick up a little bit of wisdom somewhere. And just my time, coaching the college ranks, seeing all the different backgrounds that kids come from, obviously with women, it's a little bit different than it is with boys, because there's not really any major junior hockey leagues for young women or anything. But you have players who, it's pretty obvious early which ones want to keep playing and which ones, you're just kind of there for, whether it's the social aspect or just to be competitive in high school athletics, and I'm not knocking either one of those things, but particularly with guys, we've had some guys in our program since I've been there, Sam Alpern, Alex Nakashima, Graham Newton, Shane Roberts, guys who keep on playing past high school, and those conversations start early. It's, hey coach, I'm thinking about this. What are your thoughts? I'm thinking about maybe doing this showcase. Do you know anything? And I really am thankful for my time in college and junior hockey, because I feel like it has given me a lot of exposure that can be helpful to players like that. And even aside from the players that want to, keep playing at the highest level until they can't anymore, just really understanding kind of the overall athletic mindset, right? You grow up playing sports, you work in sports with coaching or operations or whatever it is. And you talk to so many people, you hear so many stories. And at the end of the day, my job as a coach is to not only, win a bunch of games, sure, but you want to be personable. You want to have relationships with these kids, because they can sniff out whether you care or not. They can sniff it out quicker than probably you or I can. But yeah, all those experiences have been super great. And I really think they've made a difference maybe in a couple cases with some players of mine.
Again, our guest here, the head coach at Ann Arbor Skyline, Coach. This is how I'm remembering it. Okay. I'm going to tell everybody out there, I'm a big Halloween fan. So it's Michael Myers and Coach Meyer. That's how I'm remembering it. And I'm sticking it to it because, for whatever reason, the tendency is to say Mayer. It's Meyer, is Coach told some teachers back in the day as well. We were talking about the Saginaw area. I'd be remiss before we talk about your team specifically and some great players, one last year in particular. Your area is an area that I'm seeing go like this too, whether it be Coach Robert, whether it be Coach Zagata in Saline. I'm watching what's going on in your area, and that's another area. I mean, I could keep going with the teams and the coaches. You know it better than anybody. I think things are picking up in your neck of the woods out there in the Ann Arbor area.
Yeah, I mean,
I joke about it all the time. The amount of competitors we have as a hockey team, a youth hockey team in Washtenaw County is insane. Because you have us, you have Pioneer, you have Huron, you have FGR, Dexter, Chelsea, Saline, not to mention Big B's taking over the Ann Arbor Ice Cube as well. Right. So you have to find a way to kind of separate yourself. And it doesn't make my job any easier because, you mentioned Clint and Kyle, and, there's other guy. Grundy's been a lifer, and, Caleb Bentley. Chelsea seems to be good every single year. And I'm missing a couple guys. Sorry to them at the moment, but it's just, it's tough because you want to try and separate yourself, and you have so many other guys who are really good at their jobs trying to do the same thing. And, at the end of the day, my big thing is you want to create something that people want to be a part of. And obviously the easiest way to do that is to win a bunch of trophies and win a bunch of games. But, even the most successful coaches probably don't win as many games as they would like. But really, it's just creating that culture. And I don't even really like the word culture that much. I think it's become too much of a buzzword, but you really just want to create you want to create a family. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it is. And, we spend so much time together, whether it's, all my assistants, whether it's, Donnie Busdecker, Frank Garcia. I have a great staff, and, we all get along, we all hang out, we all talk all the time. And I think that rubs off on the kids too, when they see their staffs working hard, being friendly with each other, leading by example. I think it kind of does trickle down. And, on average teams, the coaches are doing the leading most of the time, but on the really good and great teams, the leadership group and the players are doing the leading themselves. And I think I did get a little glimpse of that last year, but, a great hockey hotbed in Washtenaw County. It doesn't make my life any easier having that much talent and that many good programs around me, but you got to tip your cap where credit is due. And yeah, we're definitely surrounded by great options for youth hockey players.
And talking about wins, Coach, you've improved your wins all 3 years that you've been there. This one's going to be a little bit tougher. You lost your top 3 scorers, including the dynamic Newton that we've been talking about. What are your expectations for the leading junior scorer, Eric Van Alstyne, coming back in your Skyline team this year?
It's gonna be a challenge, no doubt. And we, obviously the 4-player rule went into effect a couple of weeks ago, so I'm taking kind of a back seat now. But we did have an extensive summer program, something we do at the beginning of each summer. Now we just did it our second year in a row, and hopefully it'll continue. Is we do a training camp at the beginning of summer. It's kind of like a whole week of 2-a-days, and we really just try and hammer down what our identity is going to be, what type of team we want to be, how we're going to play, why we're going to play the way we play. You don't replace all that offense in high school hockey overnight. It just doesn't happen. So we're definitely I believe we're going to struggle to score at times, but I think that extra effort can be made up in the net. I think we have a strong goalie duo, and I think we will be able to play really good team defense, because that's really been something I've been harping on the team since the day I showed up is good team defense. If you can have a 15, 16-year-old winger in the D zone dive in to block a shot from the point, like that's buy-in, right? That's actual buy-in, buying into what the coaches are saying, your captains are saying. And so, as we go through this season, I see a lot of ups and downs for sure, but I also see the opportunity to really prove to people that, hey, it doesn't matter who we got here, whether it's Graham Newton or whether it's a 10th grader, we all bleed the same Skyline blue in our veins, and I think that my messaging has done a good job landing with that. I'm really impressed with the junior class that we have. Our junior class is going to be our biggest. I think we got 9 or 10 kids in our junior class. Guys like the DeYoung twins, Lucas and Nico, Colin Barnes. I think we might have a sneaky 1-2 center punch with Lucas DeYoung and Colin Barnes. I think those 2 kids are going to put a lot of people on notice. And then we got some pretty good defensemen too. I mean, Landon Wilkerson. I mean, Landon last year, just as a sophomore, I mean, you could see a little bit of Graham in him, the way that he skates, and he's a little bit meaner than Newts too, which I don't hate. And then guys like Ben Bagoso and Gabe Hutton. I mean, 2 juniors who have been, paying their dues and grinding it out on the back end, look like they've improved a ton. And like I said, our goalie duo, Benny Billings and Elias Kirshenman, Elias has, he had a big knee injury his sophomore year. And then last year was a bit of an up and down year for him. And he's hungry. He texts me almost every day. And Benny's as rock solid as they come too. So it's definitely going to be challenging at times. but I think we have the opportunity in front of us. If we can really buy in and work hard and fight like we did last year, maybe we don't have the offensive firepower, sure. But I can tell you what, there's just as much character in that room today as there was at the end of February.
Southeastern Conference is going to be one to watch. There's no doubt about that. Red Division is where it's at. That's who we're talking to tonight. Again, Coach Meyer kindly joining us here, the head coach at Skyline. Of course, Temperance, Bedford, Saline, Pioneer, Huron, and Skyline. Boy, you mentioned that Skyline Blue. I've said this on the show many times. I mean, just as an offside on the state champ show, one of the best jerseys in the state. I mean, that is just a sweet uni. It's a really good look. There's no doubt about that. We've mentioned his name a couple times, and he is one of those guys. This is why we're doing this, to say, hey, listen, not only do we have dynamic players, but guys that have an opportunity to move on. Mike's son is playing in the OJ right now. As a matter of fact, scored in the exhibition. Sorry to make you blush, Mike, but scored in the exhibition last night. And we're watching a lot of young players like Graham Newton continue their career. What can you say about Graham, and where do you think he can take this as we talk about the proven path?
Man, I could talk about Newts all night. He's a great kid, first and foremost, you meet so many young people doing this, and few of them stick out like Newts to me. Forget about the hockey side for a moment. Just, a good person, you can tell he cares, whether we had a big win the night before or a tough loss, he's hitting me up the next morning. What are you thinking for practice? I think we did good last night, but I think we could, button it up here, and here. And just a kid that's dialed in like that is going to be successful in whatever he does, for sure. And then on the hockey side, I mean, probably the best athlete I've ever coached, to be honest with you. You think he's in trouble, and then he's not somehow. And we're going to miss him offensively for sure. But even the intangibles in the D zone, being able to get pucks out, being able to start the breakout. He's really got an all around game. And I got to tell you a story about him. It was our last game against Pioneer last year, and it was MJR night. And for those who don't know, we had a player commit suicide about 7 or 8 years ago, Miles Roberts. His brother Shane was our captain last year alongside Newts. But we do a fundraiser game every year for the MJR Foundation, and this happened to be that game. Skyline, Pioneer at the Coliseum on a Saturday night. We were down going into the third period, 3-2. And early in the third, Pioneer scored again to make it 4-2. And, it's a big emotional game. It's a tough goal to give up. And Newts was on the bench for it. And, as coaches do, they, kind of take a step off the bench and maybe kick the wall or, do something. And I look over at Newts, and Newts is standing up and he's firing up his boys. And he's like, don't worry, guys, we got the next 3. We're going to work right now. Come on, let's go. And wouldn't you know it, we ended up winning that game 6-5.
Awesome.
Newts was in on just about every goal that we came back on. And Shane Roberts was actually the one that scored the goal that took the lead for us. And it's just a storybook moment. But as soon as I saw Newts respond the way that he did after giving up that 4th goal, something inside me said, we're going to win this game. And that's exactly what happened. So Graham's going on to Holderness next year, prep school out east. And the way they do it, he's playing with a AAA team as well. Islanders program out there, if I'm not mistaken. And he's got NCAA Division III aspirations for sure. I think he could definitely achieve that. He's got to maybe button up a couple of areas that scouts find important that we've talked about. But a guy that has not only that athletic ability, but that level of maturity and kind of resistance upstairs. I mean, he's got the pen in his hand. So I'm no worries about Newts. I have all the confidence in the world in him, and I'm certain that he's going to make some NCAA Division III coach very happy somewhere here in the near future.
Oh yeah, and I can second all that. I had the pleasure of watching and traveling with him and his dad to some MDHL select games out in Minnesota and Chicago. And matter of fact, if his dad had the sutures, he would have sewn my son's chin up after a cross check, but he couldn't. What a great guy! But sticking with Skyline here. Me and Sean like to get out to see as many games as we can. What are the must-see games on your schedule this year that we can get out and watch?
Well, I think really an easy one to shoot for is the Dan Gillick Invitational that happens in early mid-December. That's honestly such a fun week that the kids get super juiced up for. All the Ann Arbor teams play each other that week. And unfortunately, we haven't gotten the chance to win one since I've been here. But, we fight like heck every time. Some really great games last year, tied FGR, had a close one with Pioneer and beat Huron. But aside from that, really any SEC game is really must watch. It really doesn't matter what the standings are. When you got two groups of young men who want something really bad competing for it, I mean, that's honestly, I have my own investments in it. Sure, I want my team to win, of course, but just being able as a fan of the game, those conference matchups are incredible. And, whether it's Skyline and Saline or Skyline and Dexter or Skyline and Chelsea, you're going to get a great game. So we have a long road in front of us, like I alluded to a little bit earlier, but I have the utmost confidence in my guys with what we were able to do last year and kind of the younger guys seeing that leadership group lead the way that they did. I expect us to compete like heck in all those SEC games for sure.
Mike will do just that. I think first week of December, put it on the calendar. We'll try to figure out a nice day to go out there and catch a game or two. No doubt about that. Coach Meyer kindly joining us, the head man at Skyline. Coach, we're doing this to let people know, and I call it a secret. And sadly, it's a secret, just the caliber of play in high school hockey and all the guys moving on in the proven path. Here's the opportunity for you, a guy that's been around hockey your whole life in varying degrees. Young players watching right now. He's debating, do I go play for Skyline? Do I go here? Do I go there? Do I play for my hometown team, my school team? Why high school hockey?
I think high school hockey is really kind of, it's the place to be where if you want to play on kind of the corner of solid competition and like actual teamwork and camaraderie, I think that's the place for you to be, and I don't mean to sit here and knock AAA hockey by any means, but I've interacted with several AAA players and coaches and everything, and it's really just kind of hard to find a group that can connect on a special level, like some of those special high school teams that you see go far, and I think really at the end of the day, you can't replace that, that school logo on your chest, that pride in playing for your school. And like when you make that team, at least for me, like the best feeling making that team feeling like, hey, I'm a part of this now. I'm a part of this tradition. I'm a part of this legacy, that'll be around hopefully 10, 20, 50 years after I'm gone. And we see, youth clubs and organizations, fold all the time, unfortunately, but I really think high school hockey offers players and families the opportunity to, be involved in the game on a competitive level. It's not going to cost you $10,000 a year, which is obviously a great thing. And I think at the end of the day, too, I think at the high school level, us coaches, at least for me anyway, we really place a lot more importance on the overall development of the young man and young women in certain situations. Because at the end of the day, since I've been there going into year 4, I've had maybe 4 or 5 guys continue on and keep playing after high school. But what about everyone else? They can't just be put to the side. What about those guys? And I think it's really, really important because our game is so good for teaching life lessons. I mean, just the selflessness, the work ethic, the diligence, all of those great things. It doesn't matter if you're playing hockey or you're at work or you're being a husband or a son or whoever. These are real life lessons and real tangible skills that we have the opportunity to teach our kids. And I can't speak for every coach by any means, but I know for me, that's really what fires me up is the opportunity to develop the overall person, because at the end of the day, 70-80% of them, I'm their last stop, unless they go play beer league somewhere, which is all well and good. That's great. But I'm their last stop. And I want to make sure, and I take it very seriously, I want to make sure that they're getting something that they can carry with them for life out of it, whether it's something they can apply in their schooling in college, or, you know, in their families someday, or just even, you know, when you're going through it mentally, right? I mean, life's tough, and you got to be able to surround yourself with good people, and you got to know how to lead. And at the end of the day, at least in our program at Skyline, that's of the utmost importance to us.
It's such a great answer, and I think that answer is why we're getting more and more kids to play high school hockey. And as more and more kids are playing, the product is getting better and better, and we're moving more kids on and on and on. If you've watched this show, you know what question's coming now. Michigan high school hockey is progressing every year. Coach, is there anything that you would want to improve upon or change in high school hockey to make it a better product or to move more of our kids on?
Man, I could be really disruptive with this answer if I wanted to.
No, do it. There's no bad answer when we have this conversation. I think you know that, Coach.
I think for me, you know, I'd like to see it maybe be a little bit easier for kids to play high school hockey. You know, I mean, especially lately, and I've heard this story from a couple of coaches, and I've even dealt with it once myself. You know, if you have a player who played somewhere the year before, right? I mean, 99 times out of 100, they have to sit out the next year. You know, there's a list of exceptions, they say, but it's like they make it more difficult to allow kids to continue playing. And that stinks because we want to grow the game. And, you know, what if, you know, I had a player who played for me last year, mom or dad got a job in Grand Rapids, and they move out there and they can't play, and they're forced to go play club hockey somewhere. Well, now you just lost a good high school player. You know, I really think we need to make it easier for kids to play our game. You know, we talk about grow the game. But if a kid transfers, there's so many hoops they got to jump through to keep playing high school hockey. I would like to see that be a little bit easier. And truthfully too, you know, I think there are a lot of programs out there who, how do I say this the right way? There's a lot of programs out there who have really, really good coaches. And they've been there a long time, and they know what they're doing. But I think a lot of programs do suffer too, because they keep replacing their coach every year, 2 years. And, you know, a couple teams near us are on their 6th, 7th coach in the last 10, 11, 12 years. And I think that makes it really hard to sell the program. You know, it's tough to find good coaches. I mean, don't get me wrong, we don't just sprout off on trees. But, you know, I'd like to see just more programs kind of maybe hire for some longevity, so to speak. You know, there's always kind of a rush to fill coaching positions. And my fiance, she's a varsity volleyball coach at Birmingham Groves. Mm-hmm. And, you know, there's a lot of coaching turnover. So I would like to see maybe the MHSAA do something to either incentivize coaches to stay and keep building their programs, or, you know, more just kind of, I don't know, direct and open lines of communication and feedback. You know, it's a lot of people have a lot of great ideas on how to make it easier to play, make it more competitive, maybe make it a little bit cheaper. It seems like in the educational atmosphere, it takes a lot longer for change than it should. So I would like to see just some of the rules that make it difficult, make it less difficult, you know, with the terms of being able to bring kids in. And, you know, obviously if, you know, coaches are trying to build a powerhouse, you got to have some stopgaps in there. I have no problem with that whatsoever. But, you know, kids who are experiencing financial hardship, or kids whose, you know, parents are going through it, or things like that, I'd like to see that be easier for them to keep playing. And then also the MHSAA, incentivizing schools and teams and programs to retain their coaches, and you know, maybe create some type of program that just incentivizes that. Because I think at the end of the day, if you've got a program and a coach has been there a long time, you know, we were talking about Midland, they've had 3 coaches in the last like 40 years. Yeah. And so I think that's a big thing, is just hiring good coaches and doing whatever you can to retain them.
Boy, you bring up such a great point, because as you were talking about that, you can't help but, I always use the term the usual suspects, right? There are teams that, and hopefully you guys become one of those usual suspects where you make a couple runs and maybe people sit back and say, oh, well, that's cute. Isn't that nice? But if you do it again and again and again, you become a usual suspect. And just off the top of my head, thinking about the usual suspects, no surprise, they're all teams that have had that continuity, that have had a team there or a coach there for a long time and has become an integral part of that community. And really, Coach Meyer, it's you want to go play for that. The kids in this city want to go play for that. And hey, I want to be a part of that, where it sells itself. In a perfect world, yeah, that'd be great, but it doesn't always work like that in some spots.
Yeah, and it's hard to put your finger on it too, because as a young coach myself, I mean, I've been lucky enough to been working in hockey for 10, 11 years now. And at the beginning, you kind of bounce around a little bit and you're gaining experience and all that stuff. And when I landed at Skyline, I was like, I want to be here for a second. I don't want to keep bouncing around. I want to be able to make an impact in one spot, bloom where you're planted type of thing. All of us are always chasing the next opportunity or chasing the next open door. And it's just, I think we kind of lose sight of, no, like, bloom where you're planted, trust that God has you where he wants you, and just really do the best job that you can. And that's kind of the philosophy I've had at Skyline, and I love my time in college hockey and junior hockey, but where I'm at right now, I'm super happy. And I think that our group is really starting to kind of buy into those philosophical things that I've been teaching them. And, granted, this year, it'll be a little bit tougher than it was last year, but if we can be resilient and diligent and stick together, we're going to be just fine. And we're certainly going to be just fine the year after that. And we're going to really keep going and keep growing. And we've got big goals at Skyline. And, I can tell people the goals and they might, roll their eyes or laugh in the back of their head or whatever. But at the end of the day, that doesn't faze me. I'm here to do a job. I'm here to be an example for my players and for my staff. And, I just am really grateful to be able to work in this sport and to be the head coach of a team that truly is a family and that truly does care about one another.
That is great. That is great. I know we're coming up against it here, but before I end it all with myself here, we were talking about Graham Newton in the MDHL and some of the success he had there. Do you have any guys out there this year that we can go take a look at? Because I know I'll be out there within the next couple of weeks checking those games out.
Unfortunately, for the first time since I've been here, Skyline is not represented in the MDHL this year. So you're going to have to find another team to root for, unfortunately. I'm sorry.
Well, it's interesting because I think that piggybacks on your previous answer, Coach. It's look, even the big boys, even the big boys have one of those quote unquote down years, where, hey, it just so happens that, we lost a great senior class and we got a lot of young talent right now. It sounds to me, and I don't want to take anything away from certainly next year's squad, but it sounds to me like maybe that's the situation with this team is, hey, listen, let's see what we got this year. But next year, these guys are going to be special. You see it all over the state. It just so happens, for whatever this birth year, that birth year, whatever the case may be. Is that a fair assessment of your team? There's a lot of young talent. You really don't always know what you're going to get out of that young talent.
Yeah, I mean, spot on, 100% for sure. Last year we lose 9 or 10 guys. This year we'll lose 2 or 3. And then the year after that, we'll lose 9 or 10 more. So, it's high school sports, not just hockey. It's obviously very cyclical. But at the end of the day, we got our group. We pretty much, have a general idea of who's going to be there at tryouts and what the team's going to look like. And, and these guys understand, I'm really excited to watch the upperclassmen now, the juniors and seniors, because it's their time to shine. We've got guys who, were maybe third liners last year who are stepping into top 6 and special teams roles, or we got, depth defensemen who are all of a sudden, in the top 4. And there's going to be growing pains, no doubt about it. And our coaching staff is very clear on that. We don't expect perfection in terms of the result. I mean, it'd be foolish to do so. But we do expect a little bit of an element of perfection in the way we go about our business, the way we treat our teammates, the way we work on the ice and in the gym. Like, control your controllables. I feel like I say that 1,400 times a day during the hockey season. Control your controllables, because at the end of the day, you can't control the bad bounce of a puck, or you can't always control the official's whistle, but you can control how hard you back check. You can control getting that puck off the glass and getting it out. You can control structure in the D zone. And I think if our group can buy into that very, very intensely, being able to control the controllables super well and not get too rattled up here, maybe my win total does increase for a fourth year in a row. I mean, I don't know. You got to play the games. So I'm excited to see how it pans out. I've got a lot of confidence in the guys that are here. Like I said, I think we could have a really sneaky 1-2 center punch. And I think our D-core and our goalies are going to be kind of overlooked as well. But at the end of the day, we have a job to do. No one's going to give us any free passes. No one's going to hand us any victories. We're going to have to earn every inch we get. And we embrace that challenge. That's the kind of team we want to be. We want to be a blue collar hockey team. We want to be a hardworking hockey team. We want to be kind of a team full of, guys who aren't afraid to not muck it up. We obviously can't fight in high school hockey, but guys who are hard to play against. We like that. We value that. And if our group can come together and buy around those kind of simple yet hardworking philosophies, yeah, we're going to be okay.
Coach is firing me up, Mike. If I was only 38 years younger, I'd go play with him in a second. There's no doubt about that.
Hey, ask my players, if you ever can, about my pregame speeches. They're some of the best around, I've heard.
I will do that. I promise you. I will definitely. You know what, John Kidd, if you're listening, maybe Coach would be so nice to get a camera in that locker room, and we could even tape one of them.
Before a Pioneer or a Huron game, yeah, you're going to want to be in there for sure.
Let's go. Hey, one last thing. I always say this. To me, the last 2.5 months before the season starts is just like that. Like honestly, with so much going on in the fall, and the next thing you know, it's mid-November and we're all getting ready to drop the puck again. I know Mike talked about some of the special games. Who do you open with? Are you at home? Or are you on the road? I don't know if you know it off the top of your head, but I thought I'd ask to give everybody just a shout out in that regard.
Yeah, so our home opener is November 13th. We play SFT Unified at home. And then that weekend, we're on the road at Grosse Pointe North. And then we play Lenawee United the night before Thanksgiving, right before Thanksgiving break. So those are our first 3 contests.
I'm telling you, Mike, you know this as well. The night before Thanksgiving game is just awesome. I don't know what it is about that. I'm so glad that so many teams decide to do that. I think it's a fantastic thing. Hey, I think it's a fantastic thing you're doing with your team. And I think anybody that listens to you, Coach, understands, what you're trying to do and why we're telling everybody that we can. High school hockey is a proven path and certainly a great place to be. Continued success to you. If you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out to us. I think I can give a shout out to our boy Johnny Kidd from State Champs as well. And I wish you nothing but the best as your coach.
Yeah, guys, I really appreciate you having me on, giving the opportunity to talk about our program and the game. And I couldn't be more honored and humbled to be getting to do what I do and be around the guys that I'm around. We're just, we love what we do, and we love hockey, and we love wearing that Columbia blue.
Oh, it's a beautiful jersey. Oh, my goodness, that a beautiful jersey. Coach Meyer kindly joining us. All right, Mike, now I'm going to make you blush. All right. Your boy scored last night. Like, how? No, seriously. Come on. No. What's going on?
So, I mean, it just so has it that this is the only game that wasn't streamed. For whatever reason, Halliburton and the Huskies didn't stream the game. I don't know if it's because they're rivals and they were trying to, do a little gamesmanship, but then our power went out. So I was even having trouble getting updates. And Sean's, truth be told, my phone wouldn't load. So I didn't get anything for an hour. And a friend of mine's, I think it's his cousin, was over, and she's like, well, my phone's working. So I grab her phone and I get on there. And as soon as I hit the update, of course, name spelled wrong, but that's okay. Goal, Sebastian Iavasile, and I went bonkers. I did. I went around high-fiving everybody. As you know, I mean, fourth liner, trying to make the lineup every night. It was huge that they want to face off back to him. And anybody out there that's listening that knows Sebastiano, you know where the goal went. 5-hole.
Yeah.
And he got a quick snapper off. But on top of that, Sean, more proud. And I'm proud because I don't talk a lot about this, but 3 block shots. Got in a scrum in a very rough third period where there's a lot of roughing penalties. Got in a scrum.
Sandpaper, Sebby.
And he said a kid probably about 6'4" stood him up and was trying to go with him. And he's like, "What am I going to do to you?" But getting into it, getting into that sandpaper, all the things you have to do, a lot of PK time. So it was pretty cool. But yeah, got off the schneid and got his first goal last night in the OJ.
Well, why are we bringing that up? Because Sebastiano played at Catholic Central, and we keep talking about the proven path, and there is another example. Hey, we can't thank Coach Meyer enough. Mike, always a pleasure to chat with you. Todd, back at Studio Central, we appreciate everything you do. Most importantly, thank you for watching. We hope to see you at the rink when the season starts. Once again, this is the proven path. Thanks to our friends from the Michigan High School Hockey Coaches Association. I'm Sean. He's Mike. See you.
What the Puck, featuring Sean Baligian. Produced by Todd Losey and Blake Matrazek. Executive produced by Sean Baligian and Todd Losey. Theme song and incidental music by Elliot Middleton. Engineering, mixing, and graphic design support provided by the Unsyndicated Podcast team. Don't forget to like and subscribe to What the Puck on all your favorite channels. While you're there, be sure to rate and review the podcast. Got something to say to Sean? Call the Unsyndicated hotline at 248-237-3257.